Good evening. My name is Ryan. I'm going to be painting and probably talking. And it's late. I'm tired. My knee is sore. I feel compelled to record something. Ooh. It's also one of those fun, crazy caffeinated and B vitamin mixes. It's been a minute since I stayed up late, and I wanted to work on this some more. I definitely see something coming out in it. So, like most days, when I'm not actually occupying my time with stuff, actual activities and trying to do stuff around here, I think about, science, spirituality, religion, etc. So this is going to be another one of those talks. And it's just creepy how some of these videos that pop up out of nowhere, at this stage I can't really say out of nowhere. I've been kind of delving into more of the interesting aspects of that space. Okay. See, the other day I came across one. It was the Monroe Institute. Talking to somebody is talking to an astral traveler while he was talking to a cosmic entity. It was back in the 70s. It's very interesting and compelling. I'll find it and link it. It's one of those where you go like, ooh, I need to check the wall. Is it tiling apart? Is my reality breaking? It's not? Okay, cool. I mean, maybe a little bit, but not much. I mean, because, I think everybody benefits from having their reality break a couple times throughout their lives. But the thing that I was actually getting on about is I was, fired up YouTube earlier, and this, but I gotta pull this thing up. It was like a message from Alpha Centauri, or maybe that, not then. I don't know. Hold on. So, when you keep an open mind, you have to keep an open mind, and you have to listen to a lot of things. And this one was like a very positive message, but it was eerie. It was very eerie because I was just kind of sitting there letting it play in the background, kind of listening to it. Here we go. GFL Station. And where's that video? Here we go. The Arcturian Council of Five. This is just the beginning. A message from Tia. Or I think that's how it was pounds. Any which way. It's actually a very interesting one to watch and listen to. The part that got me weird was in one part of the video where it's like, oh, this is interesting. And I'm kind of like drifting away from it, about to click to something else. It mentioned something about you went through a dramatic shift 7 years ago. And it's like, and like, yeah. So I was like, all right, I want to pay attention to this one. Fascinating. Because, yeah, definitely went through a complete upheaval. About 7 years ago. The date that I have tattooed on my wrist. It's actually one of those times where it's like, you know, when you get to a point in life where it just, all the stress, all the keeping up with everything finally kind of taps you. And yeah, 7 years ago, I had that event happen. Now, it was a definite escalation over a span of about a year and a half. It's like the starting of a very severe health decline. But then finally had one of those moments, like the straw that broke the camel's back, and this odd dial tone set in. This is when my mom passed away. Actually, rather traumatizing having to see somebody go through COPD and long-term care. But I mean, I think the most traumatizing aspect of it is when you've come to terms with something, like, you know, pulling the plug on someone, and then you have to wait. You have to wait and see how everyone else behaves. You have to wait, knowing that your mother's vessel is done, but you can tell that her spirit is just screaming, just fucking pull it. And it's astonishing how inconsiderate human beings can be. So, to anybody listening to this that has a loved one just anyone who's listening to this, if the DNR is... Hello, Menace. How are you doing? You're a good girl. Open the door. Yeah, get everything in place, because I think that was probably one of the more frustrating aspects. Just kind of like adding to it, like asking, leading up to the inevitable. Is this in place? Being reassured it is, and then one day being asked to sign the paperwork to put down your mom. It's like, damn, I just put down my dog like a couple months before that. Yeah, 2017, 2018 sucked balls. And shit, since I'm already talking about this in a depth that I never thought I would in a public forum, that decline in health that I was talking about starting in 2016, fun times. I'll circle back. Actually, that probably won't. Who knows? In, I believe, March of 2016, I got bit by some sort of venomous creature. I believe it was a black widow, right in the center of my calf. It went necrotic. Took about 6 months to heal up. It ended up basically taking like a melon baller sized chunk out of my calf. Probably one of the reasons why I have so many weird issues with that leg. And on top of it, the wound, like being open for so long and whatnot, ended up getting MRSA into my bloodstream. That's a bitch and a half. It's like every other month or so having to nuke your system, getting a new abscess somewhere fun, different. Best one was, had one right there. And yeah, that sucked. Made my entire face swell up, eyes close up. Doctors were talking about plastic surgery. It looked like Eric Stoltz from Mask. It's like, damn. If that, you find that in poor taste, get a sense of humor. Because it's just a comparison. Because I honestly did. It made that entire section to swell up. It was horrific. Had to sit there and squeeze all that shit out. Or see a plastic surgeon. Ugh. Anyway. Dealt with that and have one abscesses popping up everywhere, nuking my system, ended up hospitalized by it. yeah, it was like, as I mentioned, I had to put down my dog, and like later in the year, that was 2017. And like about a month after that, I was in the hospital with MRSA, getting pumped full of rifampin and Bactrim. Knowing that my mom was in the hospital in the floor below me. And that was when she was already in the stages of never coming out of the hospital. Because the month prior to that, my hospitalization, she decided to help clean our house while she was babysitting the boys. And she cleaned our house with so much bleach, she ended up just gassing herself. It took 2 or 3 hours to vent the house after that. And she was found coughing up blood that night. People make some weird decisions. All she was supposed to be doing was watching the boys, being a grandma. But no, we were about to move, so she felt compelled to clean because that's just what she did. So yeah, back to that video calling out 7 years ago, you went through a dramatic paradigm shift. Yeah, that dial tone setting in was my brain going offline. That was basically everything coming to a head saying, nah, this is not the way to be living. There's something seriously wrong. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but it was just my brain decided to shut off. It just boom. And it was dial tone for a couple months. And when it was coming on back online, it was not positive. Which, yeah, if you go through traumatic stuff like that, I highly recommend mindfulness, meditation, dialectical behavioral therapy, and try to keep in mind that it's not just you. Now, I mentioned another one. When you choose to go through all that therapy stuff, it is essentially like the no-no word. That I'm sure that will prevent my video from being seen to many people, but you know what it is. It's the end. It makes you, and because it is like you're like taking a chance of like acknowledging that everything that you know and was taught and raised with is highly flawed, and you have to end it, extinguish it, rebuild it, and hopefully rebuild it with the people that you are already building things with. Downside is that's clearly wrapped up with the idea of, or the flawed perspective to begin with. Anyway, I'm spiraling on that. I don't want to get into that. And, to get back to the MRSA, that shit nearly killed me. But thankfully, I had a voice of reason recommend that next time I had to nuke my system with antibiotics, because I had to nuke them for a solid year and a half. Yeah. Anna, thank you. She told me to take probiotics afterwards, and that was a game changer. I had one abscess since, and after doing the probiotic thing, after the massive Bactrim cocktail, and yeah, I also the one thing I had one right here, and I didn't even bother taking the Bactrim. I didn't even do it. I took a piece of fresh garlic, crushed it, put it on the wound, and then I took another piece and ate it. I haven't had one since. And just about a year and a half or so ago, maybe 2 years. So 4 years out, three to 4 years out from my last abscess, the lab results came back as not a carrier, which is awesome. Anyway, should go into the more positive notes of this, and having to, wrestle with all the trauma from all of that. I mean, if you were paying attention, anyway, that's probably the best thing that happened to me. Yes, it was traumatic, and it definitely, it's like throwing a nuke into my life. But when my brain came back online after the dial tone, like I was saying, it was exceptionally negative, and I couldn't stop thinking about this exceptionally negative. So I got it. I sought out help because I knew something was broken. I'm not a negative person, not like that. It's weird when it's like someone else is at the helm and just kind of sitting back watching yourself put people through just shit. Just being an absolutely shitty person. And for that, I will always hold a certain level of guilt. I don't think it's... because I think a little bit of it is healthy. It reminds you of why you should always take care of yourself. Because once you stop taking care of yourself, or you start compromising your health because you think you need to keep up with somebody else's ideas or somebody else's life, or keep up because of something else, blah, 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 whatever it is, take care of yourself first. Even if it takes an exceptionally long time and it puts you through hardship. Because you can't really help anybody if you ain't here. just because you feel compelled to help somebody, you probably shouldn't do it. I mean, I shouldn't say you probably shouldn't do it, but you should probably like analyze, like, can I actually do this? How much is this going to compromise me? You should always help out if you can. But if it's going to compromise you and your health and your family, etc., you should probably not. Or at least, try to balance it out. But yeah, through all that traumatic stuff and seeking help, I actually got decent control over it. I did have to spend a little time at that beautiful resort that they have at the hospital. It's definitely beneficial. It's actually pretty funny. I remember walking into that place and being like, just like, oh no, I can't believe I finally ended up in one of these places. And I looked up and I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in forever. It was a friend I hadn't seen since high school. And I was like, oh shit. Oh. I'm not going to name you here, but I'm going to send you this video. Good times. I hope you're doing good. Anyway, I definitely got I had a very positive experience there. I ended up being able to have a legendary Dr. Thomas Burchard as my psychiatrist. And whoo, did my ex hate him? And honestly, for good reason. He was so manic the first time I saw him. And I was definitely in more of a manic state myself. So she was not happy. Like, oh no. And it took months to get in to see anybody. It's a crappy thing about the healthcare system here, especially when it comes to mental health. But anyways, he ended up being an absolute godsend. Like, that man. And the more I learned about him after his death, it was fascinating. Not through the documentaries. I actually haven't watched any of those documentaries. If you're wondering what documentaries, who this is, well, look it up. I'm not going to link it. But it's funny, my primary doctor was also interviewed by, I think it was 60 Minutes or something. Yeah, he sadly was murdered in Las Vegas. And it sucked. I was actually supposed to, I woke up, the day I found out he was murdered, I was woke up, I need to get him to renew my note, blah, blah, blah. And I went to check my phone and it was Burchard murdered in Vegas. Fuck. Changes my plans. And you know what? Any of his patients or anybody who knew him, honestly, don't you think he would have loved that fucking headline? Dark humor reigns supreme. Anyway, it was horrible. He was actually he was a wonderful person. He's the one that helped me understand that I could, even though he wasn't actually pushing the no-med route, he pushed the genetic testing, which is amazing. And since I was in the care of all these people, I was like, you know what? It appears that I can handle this with X, Y, Z of, diet, exercise, supplements, and really good therapy. Because, I mean, ultimately, all of us just want to be able to deal with the hand that we're dealt, right? And I'll admit some more alternative plant-based medicines made the difference. Which, look into the research that Johns Hopkins is doing on psilocybin and neuroplasticity. The implications are staggering, and I can tell you it works. Because, I mean, my theory is the brain is an electrical circuit. Trauma is like frying out some of the circuit boards. And sometimes, like specifically I want to say 2015 MacBook Pros, take the motherboard out, throw it in the oven, reflow the solder or realign the flops within the video chip, whatever it was, any which way. Fried boards, you reflow it. It's all good. How do you reflow a brain? Neuroplasticity. And with a new brain, you want to update the software. Dialectical behavioral therapy. The trick is sticking to finding ways to inject mindfulness practice in your everyday. I like having a theme song. Theme songs are fun. Saturday Night Fever. That one works really well because it's active, it's chill, it's fun. If you want to get more like, ooh, I need to get my game face on, go Godzilla. That's actually when I want to just feel like, Did I mention that it's late and I don't care? And anyways, back to Burchard. I think this is a narrative that some people need to hear. After Burchard passed away, murdered. Well, actually, let me roll it back. My experience with him, he got me into the genetic testing and did that, but not only that, he actually called my therapist and consulted with her. And I remember going to session one day and she was so staggered. She was like, oh my God, I've never had any psychiatrist actually call me to see how their patient was doing. Psychiatrists, take note. Because if you can have a rapport with your patient's therapist, you could probably get a better idea on medicating and just how the medications are actually playing out, because a lot of the patients can't articulate necessarily how it's making them, like if it's a positive change or a negative change, because they're hoping for something. And when there's hope involved, you're willing to put up with a lot. But after he was murdered, I would talk to people. Like, I talk to people. I love talking to people. People are amazing. I mean, there's that legendary quote from Men in Black, where it's like, individual people are amazing. They're smart, intelligent beings, whatever. But on a whole, we need to do some work there. Some unifying work, finding some middle ground with everybody. Anyway, back to what I was saying. And talking to people, because I like to talk about my experience, I got to talk to some of his patients and people, or parents of his patients. And I ended up working with somebody, and he was such a positive influence on their life. Basically, he recognized that there was an activity that this kid would benefit from. This kid's parents, there's no way they could afford that activity. And since he recognized that this kid was exceptionally troubled and really needed that in their lives, he funded it. And it's like, he did what? Yeah. And it's like, we're not talking like a cheap activity. We're talking like about like $10,000 to $15,000 a year. Man was exceptionally generous, and that's what got him murdered. I mean, it's been painted as something else. And honestly, I haven't watched any of it. I don't really care. I knew him as somebody, as a patient, but I knew him in a way where it's like, I looked forward to it because I got to talk to him several times a week for like 2 months. I knew him for a better part of a year. And my life has been exceptionally benefited from him. Or at least his influence in my life. And it's unfortunate how people react to certain stories. I know that it was definitely not kind. And people should probably be ashamed of themselves. But you know what? I'm not one to judge. I just want to see the positive. And going back to the whole trauma thing and how it was actually very beneficial. Like, got into there, so I got a handle on the genetic aspect, the mental aspect, and the emotional aspect, because then I ended up going into Awake DBT, which I'm just going to promote them forever because Anjali is an absolute angel. And yeah, they helped me a great deal. And the Linehan method, sign up for the full year, because it's like, do first 6 months you're just kind of still calming down. The next 6 months you kind of get it ingrained, but the combination of the full year, it really helped. It really helped because it just kind of stuck in the brain. It's just, it takes time, takes patience, takes dedication, takes want, takes will. Because I didn't want to continue being an asshole. I didn't like it. I guess Inside Out is a very good representation. I haven't seen the second one yet. That's fun. So yeah. 7 years ago. And this was all spurred on by random algorithm from listening to a message from Tia. You know, I love keeping an open mind on everything. It's so much fun. I mean, don't know where I heard it, but when it comes down to like the differences between like belief systems and whatnot, it's like I don't want to believe. I don't want to be a believer of anything. I want to be a seeker of everything. I want to know the ins and outs because it's just so fascinating. I'm kind of getting on a rant. It's late. Hold on. Recharge. But I definitely needed to get that off my chest. And, you know, yeah. Yeah. And the best part about it, like during the whole dialectical behavioral therapy and mindfulness, I was going like, hey, like doing these meditations and stuff, like why is my leg thumping? What's that? That's weird. Well, during all that, like, oh, forgot to mention, I also lost like 100 and something pounds during that whole thing. Just, yeah. So having that much of weight loss, it kind of compromises your core strength in a degree that you don't realize. So that was the one thing that was really nice. So like doing the meditations, I ended up finding out that I had some back issues. Not only that, it was like some nasty back issues. Severe stenosis, L2, L3. That was fun. But I just thought it was odd, like how much I was pushing through and ignoring everything just to keep up with stuff that it's like I didn't even realize my back was an issue. And so, you know, that was a fun thing. So it's like finally got my brain back online somewhat by basically by around like 2019, I was doing pretty good. As I was exiting DBT, but my back was definitely getting worse, as I had to like do a lot of stretching and stuff, keep it online. And then I went to Disney World on Space Mountain, sitting in the front seat. And it was awfully jerky. And I remember going, "Oh, that's not good." And we were at the resort later that day. I was taking a shower and I was like, "That's weird." And alarming, because I was, washing, as one does, and realized, okay, I have something in my hand. I can feel it in my hand, but it cannot feel my hand. Oi. Yeah. Quick stretch, bring that thing back online. And then start, looking into back surgeries. And I got an MRI. Yeah. That was fun. Almost made it. So the goal was to try to make it 12 months, because I had been on a leave to take care of all that emotional nonsense. And I shouldn't say nonsense, it's dismissive. All my stuff that life had dealt with me, I had to take a leave of absence. So it was FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. And the thing with Family Medical Leave Act is you can only do it like X amount of time, whatever. And I didn't want to go on it. I had to wait like 12 months. And I made it 10. I remember walking down the breezeway with one of the librarians at the school site, and my legs just gave out. And luckily, I was able to catch myself. But it's weird when your body just decides to go like, "Nope, we don't work. You're not walking anymore." And then just comes back online and it's like, "Oh, yes, you are walking." And yeah, back surgery's fun. Back surgery was a blast. It was awesome because the nurses standing afterwards were all like cross-armed, like, "How did you lose so much weight without getting loose skin?" And it's like, that's very flattering. And it's funny. It's like the first thing that was the first thing I remember out of back surgery, and telling him was like breathing exercises, Pilates, I think. I don't know. I was so depressed and laying in bed the entire time. I just kind of wasted away. Yeah. That's an important thing to remember. It doesn't matter how much therapy you have and how much you deal with your trauma. It will always be there. It's just a matter of, do you let the emotion that comes up with it rule you, ruin your day, or you just sit there and breathe in and recognize that, yeah, that happened. And I'm better for it. I'm infinitely better for it. And that's one thing I've definitely learned from all that. It doesn't matter how much the universe throws at you. Throws it at you for a reason. Throws it at you because it knows you can handle it. Knows that you need to handle it. And if it breaks you, it means that you're done. That your purpose is done. I guess. I don't know. It's kind of cold. But, everybody goes through a bunch of shit. It's astonishing what people survive, and it's astonishing how simple little things can take you out. He's adorable. And I'm not done. Because back surgery was awesome. Popped off of that table. I was so productive for like a day and a half, maybe 2 days. And then I fell asleep on that support wedge thingy. Woke up and my pelvis like... Oh, that sucked. Let's see. I think I want to work on this one. I don't know where to put you. Put you right there. And yeah, that sucked. Waking up one day feeling amazing and the next day being crippled. Yeah, but I'm glad I went through that experience. I got a handle on this health. I have a properly built up core now. Thank you, Balance. Thank you, Devesh. I appreciate y'all greatly. And I feel like an utter badass other than the fact that my skeleton feels like it's 80. It's like definitely feeling badass until it's a cold day. And then it's just like, my hip, my foot, my knee. Or as my coworkers like to joke around, it's like, what? Don't do that. Don't pick that up. You're going to be out of work for like a month. Last year sucked. I had to take a lot of time off until I got an epidural because, progression. I'll probably get to there because I'm almost done with that part. So, left antenym of the pelvis slipped off the sacrum. It was like, it's like it's locked in like this, and it went like this and slightly like this. Apparently a common injury for people with work power lines or are jockeys. because it's like you get your foot stuck in the stirrup and it yanks. So yeah, the physical therapist was like, wait a minute, you did this while sleeping? And it's because the back surgery, flayed muscles combined with the sudden weight loss, so the core, etc., etc. Anyway, that was fun. Learned all kinds of crazy exercises and getting all buff, sort of. But just, it takes time. It takes time, it takes pain. I mean, those psoas releases, gotta laugh that shit off. Okay. Almost wrapping up. So yeah, after like 4 months of not being able to walk and seeing like a bunch of different physical therapists, I was blessed with the Vesh. And then, pandemic hit. I was out of a job. That was fun. That's a different story. But, it was nice because I was able to focus on my health. It's surprising how it's like you can look at things like, wait a minute, I'm losing my job, and then all of a sudden everything's in lockdown. And it's like, okay, can't get on unemployment. Don't have disability or social security stuff because working in education is kind of fucked that way. It's all good. Like I said, I have to focus on my health, getting my stability back. And yeah, it was awesome. It's definitely a blessing in disguise. And all of it is. All the hardships. As long as you allow yourself to seek out a better way to take care of it, keep an open mind. Yeah. It's all good. Okay. Yeah, wow. That's fun. As for my current issues, that the epidural's fun. If you are a weird person who doesn't really feel pain in ways that other people feel it, and you just kind of know it, like if you get a rib tattoo and you're just like, well, that's funny. Yeah. The epidural's nice. So it's fun. It's like getting this MRI. Got to validate my back surgeon. His work was rock solid, even though I went through all that stuff right afterwards. kudos to his handiwork. But now it's like L1 through L5 all impinged. The epidural is wonderful. So I'm trying to get back on track with that. Well, this is fun. I hope if you're watching this whole thing, you benefit from listening to my story to some degree. Because, yeah, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. There's always a silver lining. As long as you allow yourself to be open to the work, put in the effort, and understand that everything actually does happen for a reason. It might not make any sense to you, but there's going to be a silver lining. I like this one. It's turning out nice. All right. Yeah, that was rather cathartic. Thank you, YouTube. And anyone who's benefiting from that, have a good night.